Hello there. Thanks for stopping by. Let's have a peek at the income portfolio I'm trying to get up off the ground. All right, today is August 29th, 2025. I'm trying to generate some weekly and daily income. I'm using Yield Max, Yield Boost, a few other ones. I'm trying to get paid Monday through Friday. You see my biggest holdings right here are ULTY XBTY, and then I do have YETH, and I have NVII along with MSTY, and I believe a small percentage in YMAX. But the goal with this is to at least try and appreciate here. So I've introduced QQQ and BOO to help this portfolio go up and to the right. At least that's the goal. And you can see down the bottom line, I did start July 1st of this year. So we're just getting started with this. So let's go ahead and have a look. And again, I just did start in July, made $98. For August, those numbers are in the books, $334 worth of dividends. And for September, I'm projecting about $410. Let's take a peek to see how I'm getting that $410. And right now I have 6 weekly pairs to cover Monday through Friday, getting paid twice on Friday from ULTY and YMAX. The other 4 covered the Monday through Thursday. But let's take a look at ULTY, my biggest position, 523 shares, 4 distributions in September. I'm just throwing in 8.5 cents per distribution. That's where I come up with this 34 cents right here. If you do that, I'm going to get a payout of about $177. XBTY is my second biggest position, 100 shares. They have 5 paydays in September. They pay every Tuesday, and I'm guesstimating about $2.05 or 41 cents per week. NVII, just a small position. I did go up from 2 shares, so I have almost 3.5 shares, 4 paydays for NVII. I'm just thinking 20 cents per distribution or 80 cents for the month. And you see that I get a time little payout. Yes, another small position. I did put a few more shares in there, so about 8.5 shares. I'm thinking about 30 cents distribution on the low side. If you do that, $10 for the month. MSTY, even a smaller position from Round Hill, less than 2 shares. Okay, I believe they do have 5 paydays in September. So whatever, 35 cents per distribution, I believe, come up with $3. And then YMAX is just another small position, only 3 shares. I'm hoping for 15 cents per week or about $2. But if you do that, you get a grand total of $401. Now, obviously, through the month of September, I'll be adding to this, buying more shares of whatever. I have everything on drip right now except for XBTY, which I'm going to use those distributions to fund these other high yield ETFs, and plus adding in just a little bit more capital. So on the conservative side, that is where I'm getting the $410. And as far as the 5th week or the last week in August, here are the paydays that I had. You can see I made a grand total of $78.66. XBTY and ULTY are my biggest position, giving me the most money. As you can see, still under $1 for those small positions that I hold. But what I did big this week is I've gone from 61 shares to 100 shares of XBTY. Loading up on that, hopefully Bitcoin will pop pretty soon or sooner than later. You never know, but I'm going to load up on it. And as far as ULTY, I'm just going to let that drip for the time being. Okay, for today, August 29, 2025, you can see I was down about 2.4% or $117. The past week, down 4.6% or $229. The past month, down 6.67% or about $340. And for the past 3 months, when I click on it, I started July 1st about 2 months ago. I'm down about 3.5% or $171. I guess you can say these are the dog days of August and September. And here's a look at my buying power, $32.47. You can see I'm using $2,157 a margin. My portfolio, I'm just at that 50% mark or about $2,390 above my margin maintenance. With Robinhood Gold, that first $1,000 of margin is interest-free. So now I did borrow an extra $1,000. So now I'm paying 16 cents a day of margin interest, which for me is worth it with this small portfolio. All right, let's take a look at the positions. We'll start up with BOO and QQQ. My thinking is that I need some growth funds to help these high yield ETFs kind of stay even. Again, I want to go up and to the right. Now, I'm only 60 days old in this account, and I basically purchased these in the past 7 to 10 days. So with BOO, I do have 1 share, or about $614. You can see it's barely up $1.75. And then with Q, I do have a little bit more than 1 share. I'm down about 56 cents. But over time, unless we're starting to get ready to go into bear market, these should appreciate to help the portfolio overall. So I'm keep adding to these positions just to help the overall health of this little tiny portfolio and kind of attack the NAV erosion that happens with these high yield ETFs. So that's what I'm doing with these two. I'm trying to get them to a total of about 20% of the portfolio. You can see right now that QQQ is at what, about 8%. VU is about 9%. I do have about 1.5% of Bitcoin as well. So at least 20%, that's the short-term goal. So I'll be adding to these. All right, now ULTY is my biggest position, 43% of the portfolio. You see 523 shares, an average cost of $6.23, pretty close to $3,000. I'm not going to buy any more shares of ULTY. I'm just going to let it drip. I should be dripping anywhere between 8 and 10 shares per week. Then again, we're going to see how it goes on a week-to-week basis. But you can see $287, that's how much I'm down, or about 8.82%. And since ULTY is the biggest position in this portfolio, I'm keeping a little bit better eye on it right here. You can see I opened it up with about 5 shares early in July, and these are my share counts as the weeks have progressed. Here's the amount of dividends they paid each week and the amount they paid weekly dollar-wise. And this up here on the top right, that is my average in my position of how much dividends per week on average I've received, almost 10 cents per week. But you can see down here, $327 worth of distributions versus being down $287. So I'm a little bit positive minus taxes, so I'm probably just flat. Next up is XBTY, the second biggest position in my portfolio, at about 30%. I now have 100 shares, an average cost of $22.89. And today was a down day for everything, obviously. So down $58 a day. Total return, I'm down $162, or about 7%. That's because Bitcoin is down along with all the other markets. And then I've got NVII. I call it my redheaded stepchild because I only have 3.5 shares. Right now, an average cost of $31.98. You can see where it's sitting right now. I have a total return of negative 2.5%, or about $3. Then another small position in ETH, a little bit over 8.5 shares. There's my average cost of $30.12. I'm down about $10, or about 3.5%. Then I've got Maggie, another redheaded stepdaughter of mine, a little bit less than 2 shares. The average cost of $57.09. I'm down about 1.5%, or $1.50. And then I have YMAX, another small position, 3.5 shares, not even percent of the portfolio, and the total return, I'm down about $1.17. And with this screenshot, this is the total amount of cash I have in this little brokerage account. Bring it on down here, there's the cash again. The total value of the account is at $67.93. That's because I'm using $2,157 of margin. And I do have about $50 pending from ULTY that should hit sometime this evening to put this, close to $4,800. But what does this mean down here? Well, if I liquidate this account, Robinhood's going to get their $21.57 back, and I'd be left with this $47.43. So I've got VU and QQQ. They're in their place. That's about $1,100 in growth funds just to help this little portfolio out. We know about the NAV erosion. It's just a matter of what the market does now. And we know that August, September are traditionally down months. So we just have to wait. It's a function of time with these growth funds to help support these high yield ETFs in this little portfolio. That's my thinking. That's my strategy, at least short term right now going on. I'll be dripping everything except for XBTY. I'll use the funds. It should put out about $40 to $45 a week. Probably throw those into QQQ and VU to pump those up because I want to get those to at least 20%. And it may even take up to 25 or 30% in those growth funds to keep this portfolio stable. Anyway, those are just my random thoughts. Folks, thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.